Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News, coming to you live from the mobile setup right here. Got my donkeys and just needed a quick Friday morning pick-me-up. But I do have a very interesting interview I did with Omar. He is a lawyer, licensed and practicing in California, and specializes in family law, which includes divorces. And I wanted to talk to him about all of the specifics of going through a divorce like this, where one party has more assets than the other and splitting community property, things like that. Yesterday, we watched this video of Nick Viall commenting on the divorce, called Brian a loser. Everyone was like, oh, he's the worst. Now, the question is he a loser for what he has done in the breakup stage of this relationship with regards to asking for support for, temporary support and all of that? So anyhow, rather than all of us just get on our emotional high horse, I thought, let's talk to an expert. And there'll be moments in this interview where Omar agrees with Nick, and there'll be moments where he doesn't, and vice versa. And of course, neither one of us have read all of the court documents. We're just discussing what is spilled out into the gossip magazines and things like that. Omar's got a great YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description, and go check him out for all of your sort of legal commentary with regards to different happenings in the pop culture world. I hope you enjoyed this interview. I'll be live shortly after publicly, so make sure to subscribe. I'll be going live discussing the Bachelor Clayton Echard police body cam footage that has since come out. So very busy morning, and enjoy my chat with Omar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited here to talk to friend of the program, Omar, the Tilted Lawyer. How are you?
I'm doing good, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, that beautiful voice of yours. You were the first person I thought of when I needed expert advice on family court. Can you give me a rundown of your expertise in the California family court world?
I know everything about family law in California specifically. Well, I'll tell you what, most cases that get litigated, as you can imagine, they revolve around custody and visitation. But part and parcel to that is support arguments. And most of the trials that I do end up involving some form of alimony, arguments, division of property, who gets to keep the house, am I entitled to more than half of the house, division of community property, separate property, those kinds of things.
Okay,
So
community property seems to be what we're going to be discussing here, but maybe there's some other aspects. But I think that's going to be a key point in this divorce. So we've got Bachelorette Rachel Lindsay. She's actually a formerly practicing lawyer. Her dad is a judge in Texas. So she's got a law pedigree. She's smart, but she doesn't get a prenup. She's the Bachelorette. And the Bachelorette gets paid like $150,000, right? But the contestants don't get paid anything. So they just go on the show for free. And if they win, they win. So the winner was this guy named Brian Abasolo. He is a chiropractor. He was based in Miami. They were married for 4 years, but he moved for her because she got a job as a extra TV host and a podcaster in Los Angeles. So he moved his business across the country, and now in the divorce claims he's only making $1,400 a month. She makes $60,000 a month.
But he's a chiropractor, like licensed?
Okay. He's a licensed chiropractor. And he obviously had to deal with the pandemic. I think got a PPP loan, which I support for those that actually got it for the right reasons. A lot of people, a lot of fraud happened there, right? So anyway, in the court system, just very, very broadly, they lived together. They were married for 4 years, and he asked for $16,000 a month, and she offered $10,000. The judge agreed on $13,000 a month for 2 years. So that's kind of where the judge agreed. But as far as the discussion of who gets the house and who doesn't, like I said, no prenup. I think the reactionary view of the audience has been, oh, he's a leech because he took all this money from her. But can you just talk, like, maybe taking gender aside, what's the general viewpoint of who pays legal fees in a situation like this where the female is the breadwinner, there are no kids and all of that?
Let me just represent her for a minute. If I'm representing her, he's a licensed chiropractor. This is a short-term marriage. So if alimony is awarded at all, it's going to be presumably for half the length of the marriage. So 2 years at best. Right. So 16 months, she's making $60,000 a year. What is the going rate for?
She's making $60,000 a month.
Oh, Well, that's a little bit different.
So anyway, please take her side. She's making $60,000 a month. The judge did agree. You're dead on with that. This is for a 2-year window. So yes, the judge agreed to $13,000 a month. She pays him.
So $720,000. He's making a chiropractor. I mean, that's not like the same thing as a doctor or psychologist. I mean, what's the average income for a full-time chiropractor in LA? Would you guess maybe 6 figures?
He claims he's only netting $1,400 a month. He owns.
I would challenge that. So right off the bat, and might not even matter because in terms of the math, because the way that they're going to calculate it is they have guidelines that they go by. They literally put her income versus his income into a calculator. It spits out a number. There's all these variables. And then that's what guideline support would be. It would be ordered for a period of half the length of the marriage. And then that's it. If it would be worth it to do that, though, I would challenge that he's making only $1,400 a month. I would want all the financial discovery for like the last 3 years. What's his earning potential? I would ask the judge to impute income to him in the amount commensurate with what an average chiropractor is making full-time in the county of Los Angeles, which I'm guessing is probably somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000 a year. That's going to cut into the bill a little bit. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make in terms of the actual agreed upon amounts.
That's very interesting that they might go with the average pay, which again would be around $8,000 plus a month. So let's just actually take that assumption. If he were making $8,000 a month, say he worked for another chiropractor as an employee and he didn't have all these expenses, and she was making $60,000 a month, the idea that she would end up paying him for a temporary 2 years, that's pretty normal. Would you say?
I mean, he's welcome to ask for that. He has no, I mean, there's no reason for him not to ask for it. He's entitled to it. They didn't sign a prenup. It was a 4-year marriage. Now, I mean, it wasn't like a 30-day annulment type of marriage where, everybody just kind of goes their separate ways. Every year that you're invested in somebody else, California recognizes that that's worth something in terms of alimony. The purpose of alimony is, look, you had this expectation going in. You went into a marriage with the best of intentions. And you started building a life with this person and started, eschewing certain career opportunities. You changed the entire direction of your life for this person, and now they're kicking you out. And you thought that you're going to have this income of, whatever she's making, $60,000 a month plus his income. And so he has all these hopes and dreams, and they're shattered after 4 years because nobody cares why in California. It's a no-fault state. So in order to get you back on your feet and remove you and let you be on your merry way, they award you a measure of alimony that's commensurate with the length of the marriage. If it's over 10 years, they cannot legally put an expiration date on it, meaning that you're going to be paying that until he remarries or he passes away, whichever happens first.
Wow.
But since it's a short term, presumably you had 4 years. Yeah, you put some time into it, but it's not like your life is over. You got time. And so here's your 2 years of alimony, and hope it all works out for you. Now what she might have done.
Does it change at all knowing that he's the one who filed for divorce?
No, literally doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. No, obviously the public opinion matters in Bachelor Nation because these are influencers. Who are you going to follow? Who you're not going to follow? And it seems like what I've seen is a lot of people reacting with their feelings and not facts. And I wanted to share one reel with you. So let me pull it up here. This is a reel by one of the, bigger podcasters, if not biggest podcaster in the Bachelor world, Nick Viall, who is a friend of Rachel Lindsay's. But I watched this and I just saw them, I thought, butcher it all. So I'd love to just play this quick reel with you, and then feel free to tell me to pause it or just respond afterwards. But here's their thought on, I guess this guy Brian being a leech.
Rachel Lindsay's divorce.
First of all, when they got divorced, he decided he wanted to go after his ex-wife, Rachel Lindsay, for spousal support. And then he decided, well, you should pay for me to sue you.
This is like general practice, though, that part of it.
I understand that Brian, Rachel Lindsay's ex-husband, has taken advantage of the very outdated laws around marriage.
He continues to reside in Rachel's home, for which Rachel pays 90% of all expenses. And then
he's still living in her house.
She's paying for it.
To my knowledge, he was a chiropractor, had this boom in practice, but he's leeching off of his going to be ex-wife.
And disparaging her name in the press.
Isn't he posting screenshots?
Yeah, he's speaking publicly, but Lindsay's only speaking through like the court documents.
Brian met Rachel in his mid-30s. He was an adult man. He was educated. He was a chiropractor. He already had a life. Then he got married to Rachel, and all Rachel did was make him more famous, gave him a huge platform, and if he couldn't make a practice work for him and become a very profitable entrepreneur after everything that Rachel gave him,
that's his own problem.
Yeah, it's just like, break up with Grace. Move on with your life. It didn't work out. Why are you trying to steal from her? It's like, Rachel, my wife provided me this luxury lifestyle that I became accustomed to, and now I'm expecting her to maintain that quality of life. You sound like a loser, Brian.
So there it is. He's a loser. Now, what are your thoughts on what they said? Are there like anything glaring that was wrong, or did you agree with?
No, I mean, they're making moral arguments, emotional arguments about what they think is fair and whatnot. I can't disagree with them on any of that. I don't know these people. I don't know who's right or wrong in it, but I certainly know that I've represented people where my clients have asked for alimony and I didn't think it was very fair. It's like, what's the harm in that? You guys have been married for, 6 years. It didn't work out. You got a career. He's got a career. You guys could literally just walk away. You want me to fight for what? What do you want me to fight for? And then, but it's the law. Now, what they also spoke to was that these are archaic, outdated laws, which in essence they are, because these laws have not really been changed a whole lot in the last 100 years. The whole reason that they exist is because it used to be the fact that men and women were on very separate socioeconomic scales. And most of the time it was the guy that would get married, and then 10, 15, 20 years later, he would marry the hot secretary and want to kick his wife out because she was old and used up, and, kick her to the curb, and she's left with nothing. And so they wrote in certain laws to protect against that. And alimony has evolved. And they're not gender specific when they make these laws. And so as a result, the spirit of the law is that in California, marriage is viewed as a contract. It's a contract. That's why you get a prenup. And this person who was an attorney should have known better. She's the one that, look, she could have very easily entered into a prenup saying, look, in the case that we divorce, there will be no alimony awarded to either party. Both parties terminate the rights, whatever. But she didn't. And so now you have this contractual agreement where you have two parties that have derailed the course of their lives to pull their resources together, to start a life together, and it didn't work out. Now, he had this expectation. He's got this booming practice. He's a chiropractor. I don't know if it's booming or not.
No, that was and that's the issue I have, is that he moved across the country for her. And, when you have a brick and mortar, you're only as good as the clients you can reach. So he left his, I guess, before the relationship, left his practice in Miami and restarted it all. So, and again, I've met him. I don't really know him, but my imagination is that he's bitter because she's thriving. And while the law is archaic in today's world, she actually benefits way more than he does. I mean, she's completely soared, making, $750,000+ a year.
Yeah.
When he's like, dang, I can't even get a client to get their back cracked for $30. So that's because I agree with you that I think you often do see laws get exploited, but in this case, I go, geez, I think he's just asking for an honest amount. And with regards to them saying it was Rachel's home, they lived in this home together. Do you advise your client to leave the home during a divorce or to stick around? Like,
No, you're gonna stay in the house. Number one, did she purchase that house before they were married?
I guess she claimed that she purchased it with her own funds, but it was purchased during the marriage, and they hired a forensic, financial investigator. So my guess is, without seeing every piece of paperwork, that the judge made a fair call based on what the judge could see. Like, I don't imagine he was hiding all of this money that he was making as a chiropractor. Yeah. I just think his business didn't get off the ground after he moved it.
Well, the house issue is pretty simple. She's entitled to whatever separate property contribution she made dollar for dollar as a reimbursement. And then it's a community residence. She could buy him out of the house, whatever equity's in there, just give him his community portion. It's going to be 50% minus whatever the reimbursements would be. That's pretty simple. And then you would make that payment in the form of like, I don't know, an equalization payment. And you would take like a second mortgage on the house and take out that equity, cut him a check, and then he's gone. But on top of that, he's also entitled to the alimony. So, there's ways that she could have avoided the alimony if she really wanted to do that, if she's interested in doing that, and just tied it all into the equalization payment. Because if it's only for 2 years, 2 years times 13,000 means that alimony is worth 13 times 24, $312,000. Gosh, that's a lot of money, man.
You got to marry a celebrity, I guess.
Yeah, 13 times 24, $312,000. I'd imagine she could have just took that out of the equity of the house and just, been done with it that way. I've oftentimes told my clients, look, just give her like the vacation house or something. And what that's worth is going to supersede what she would get in alimony. But these are usually in cases where it's like non-expiration type of alimony, like for the rest of her life. It's like, look, no, instead of that, we'll give you this and then we'll call it square. And they'll be like, all right, that's fair. And then they'll take their lump sum and be done.
Yeah, and look, I mean, as we've seen that, covering the Clayton Echard case, so much drama can come out through the court papers, and it seems as though anyone who's in the public eye would probably prefer to have their divorce moderated beforehand. How does that work as a lawyer? Do you prefer to negotiate these terms before it goes to court, or like what do you advise your clients?
Well, if there's attorneys on both sides, these cases are almost always negotiated beforehand. And sometimes, there's tribal issues that neither party is willing to give in, but there's always an extensive amount of negotiation that goes back and forth. And they have like these mediations. I'd imagine this is what they did here. Like they had like a voluntary mediation session with the judge. And they just, look, this is what I want. This is what I see. And then the judge is like, this is not really a tribal issue. Like, what are we doing here? Why can't we settle on that? And sometimes they will force the attorneys to meet and confer and come up with certain agreements. That's why the 10,000 versus 16,000, we'll just call it even at 13,000 and be done with it.
Yeah. And if they did that in if they moderated that before it goes to court, we wouldn't be here talking about it. It would have just been a private situation, which I think would have benefited both of them. But my thought is, if I'm Brian, the only reason he would send this to court is because she wasn't even close to giving him a penny. That's my thought, is like, he's like, dang, I've literally crashed my business to make this relationship work. And again, I'm speculating. They wanted to have kids.
You're actually spot on with that. Yeah, because 100%, because if I was representing her, I would offer him a cash out payout. Like, look, you're entitled to a couple years of alimony. I will give you 10,000 times 24, 240 plus, I don't know, 30% of the equity in the house as a one lump sum equalization payment. And then you just go your separate ways. Now, if he accepts that, then the benefit to her is she's paying him less than she would have had to pay. And they probably just couldn't come to an agreement on that. So he files a request for an alimony order, and that's why they're litigating it.
Yeah. So they could have used you, my guy. They could have used you. You got to start following these cases. They're pretty juicy. We've got Ariana and Tom Sandoval, their divorce case, and Vanderpump, this divorce case, which, by the way, this marriage was squeaky clean. There was no drama in this marriage, and it's become the bloodiest divorce in all of Bachelor Nation. And
that's how the squeaky clean marriages usually end, is in
right?
the bloodiest of bloody.
And like, look, I'm not one of those like men deserve rights too. I'm just trying to look at it like, look, aren't we trying to do what's fair by the law? So when this podcaster Nick says that, oh, they're leeching off of her and he should go out gracefully, to me, that's them playing into the antiquated idea that the guy should just grit his teeth and walk away. When what if it was a scenario where his whole practice went to shit? She's absolutely thriving, and he's like, all I wanted was a couple kids and a happy family, which I didn't get. So that's the way I look at it, is going like, isn't he entitled? Like, if the roles were reversed, it would be a slam dunk. Go get your money, girl, right?
Men have been saying this for years, and now a man is doing it, and everybody's upset. Look, there's no guarantee. They're saying he should have been able to capitalize off of the fame of whatever. Look, there's no guarantee that there's anything to capitalize off of that. That's all speculative, and all of those arguments they're making are emotional arguments. They're not based on law. It's based on their own moral compass, which is, may or may not be fair, but there's no guarantee. Look, he uprooted what they said was a thriving practice. I don't know if it was, but I guess he moved across the country or whatever to start over. That's really hard to do. And now your plans and the reasons why you did that are gone. So now you're just all by yourself on the other side of the country, forced to start over. That's hard for anybody. It doesn't seem to me like leeching if all he's asking for is a couple years of alimony payments to get back on his feet and, find some semblance of normalcy going forward.
Yeah. And, like a chiropractor, that's, it's like being a real estate agent. It's a lot of trust with your client list, and you don't just like jump to a new one, So anyway, that's how I look at it. But you hit the nail on the head when you said moral arguments. That's Bachelor Nation, moral arguments. But I think a lot of people are going, no, I think it's fair the more you look into it. But these snap judgments by these people, I just wanted to bring on someone who knows what they're talking about, named Omar. Your YouTube channel is thriving. It's The Tilted Lawyer. Where can people find you? I'll post a link to your YouTube, but anything else you got going on you want to promote?
Yeah, we have a podcast that we're going to start doing on a daily basis starting next week. And you can pretty much find it on all of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all of those things. If you can't get to a computer or listen on your phone on the YouTube channel, we have that. I got an Instagram that I don't really use except to email Dave Neal sometimes. I got a couple of pictures of my family on there. That's about it.
It's been nice to get to know you throughout this. We of course bonded over the Clayton case, but I appreciate the information. You provided some excellent commentary. Are you taking new clients? If there's any Californians out there who need a divorce lawyer?
I'm still a practicing attorney, full-time practicing attorney. So if you need advice, give me a call. I do free consults over the phone. I'd be happy to take a look at what you got going on.
You're a few months late, but Brian could have used you, it seems. But either way, thanks again, man. And I'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure, Dave. You take care, man.